Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're digging into a really fascinating and frankly troubling piece by Diana Kwon. It's titled The Revolving Door of German Academia.
It really gets to the heart of a huge paradox in the world of science.
A paradox, how so?
Well, you have Germany, which is this, global powerhouse for research. It has world-class institutes, a ton of funding, and it pulls in students and researchers from all over the world.
Right, it has a stellar reputation.
Exactly. But at the same time, the very structure of its academic system seems to be systematically pushing out its most talented people, especially postdocs.
Hmm.
So our mission today is to figure out, why? How does the system backfire so badly?
And the article kicks off with a perfect example of this in action. The story of a history postdoc, Dorothy Getz.
Right. She spent 13 years inside the German system.
13 years.
13 years. And the whole time, she was basically just jumping from one short-term contract to the next. The constant uncertainty.
Can't even imagine.
And then, in 2021, she gets an offer from a university in Sweden, a permanent lecturing position. She took it immediately. And the key thing here wasn't just, a change of scenery.
It was the permanence.
It was the permanence, the predictability. That was the deciding factor. And her story, it's not some one-off case. It's really a symptom of these deep structural problems.
Okay, so to really grasp how big a deal this is, we need to understand just how attractive Germany is in the first place.
Right.
I mean, it's a huge magnet for academic talent.
Oh, absolutely. The numbers are pretty staggering. If you look at the OECD data, Germany is fourth in the world for the number of international students. We're talking around 423,000 in 2025.
And that number is climbing fast, right?
It's exploding. It went up by 74% in just a decade between 2013 and 2023. And it's not just students. Foreign scholars make up something like 15% of all academic staff.
And at the top-tier institutes, it's even higher.
Way higher. At the Max Planck Institutes, for example, more than half of the researchers come from abroad.
So the facilities are there, the reputation is there, the money is there. People are clearly drawn in. A stem cell biologist mentioned in the piece, Shyam Krishnan, he confirms that.
Yes, he says the funding and the global respect for German science are huge selling points. But, and this is the crucial but, the career path is broken.
How so?
Well, Krishnan points out this tension. How are you supposed to apply for these big, long-term international grants, which are a cornerstone of a research career, when your own contract might run out in 12 months?
That makes no sense. The insecurity directly undermines the very research that brought you there.
Precisely. And you can see the dissatisfaction building very, very early. The data is pretty clear on this.
You mean the surveys?
Yeah, a Max Planck survey found that only a quarter, just 1 in 4 of their international postdocs were sure they even wanted to stay in Germany after their contract ended.
Wow. And wasn't there another one from the Leibniz Association?
There was, and it's even more direct. It found 42% of their researchers had already considered moving abroad. That's almost half of your highly trained talent actively looking for the exit.
Okay, let's unpack that. If the science is so good, why is this happening? The source points to two big, interconnected structural failures.
Right. And failure number 1 is the most obvious one. The total lack of job security. It's what we can call the short-term contract trap.
And there's hard data on this.
There is. The 2025 National Report on Early Career Researchers, the BUIC, it has this one statistic that just stops you in your tracks.
Which is?
Only 4% of early career researchers in Germany are not on a temporary contract.
Wait, 4% have permanent jobs?
That's right. 96% are on temporary contracts. It's the default. It's the system.
Which brings us to this piece of legislation with a very long name, the Wissenschaftszeitvertragsgesetz.
Yes. Let's just call it the Wisszeit-VG, or the fixed-term law.
So this law from
Yeah.
2007 sounds like it was supposed to fix this problem. What was the original idea?
The intention was actually good. It was meant to limit how long institutions could keep researchers on fixed-term contracts. The rule was 6 years before you get your PhD and 6 years after.
A 12-year limit in total.
Right. And the thinking was this would force universities to either offer someone a permanent job after that time or let them go, to stop the cycle of endless temporary work.
But it completely backfired. How did that happen? How did a law meant to protect people turn into what some call an ejection seat?
It's a classic case of unintended consequences. The institutions, they just took the path of least resistance. Instead of seeing the 12-year limit as a reason to create more permanent tenure-track jobs,
They saw it as a deadline.
a hard deadline. A sociologist in the piece, Matthias Kunt, he explains it perfectly. The law didn't create permanent jobs. Instead, when a brilliant researcher hits that 6-year post-PhD mark, The university just says, well, our hands are tied.
The law says we can't employ you anymore.
Exactly. They don't hire them permanently. They just let them go and hire a new, younger, cheaper postdoc to restart the clock. It legally mandates a revolving door.
So merit, publications, research success, none of that matters once the clock runs out.
It becomes secondary to the ticking clock. And you see the human toll of this in the story of Amrei Bar, a philosopher. She's been on a string of part-time fixed-term contracts.
She has a junior professorship now.
A 4-year one. And if she gets the 2-year extension, she'll be 42 when it ends. And she says it plainly. If she doesn't get a permanent professorship by then, she'll probably drop out of academia altogether.
A career cliff built right into the law.
An unavoidable one.
Okay, so that's failure number one, this legal framework that actually enforces precarity. What's the second failure?
The second one is about the hierarchy. It's the Lehrstuhl system.
The chair-based system. Can you explain how that works? It sounds very different from what you'd find in the US or the UK.
It's fundamentally different. The Lehrstuhl system concentrates an immense amount of power and resources in one person, the tenured professor, the chair holder.
So one person runs the whole show.
Essentially, yes. They control the budget, the hiring and firing, the research direction, everything. They might oversee dozens of PhD students and postdocs.
Whereas in, say, a UK department, that power is distributed among a number of tenured faculty.
Correct. In a departmental system, you have more shared governance. Junior faculty have more autonomy. In the Lehrstuhl system, you are incredibly dependent on the goodwill of that one single professor. There are often very few checks and balances below them.
And the article connects this concentration of power directly to, well, toxic work environments.
Absolutely. When one person holds all the cards, your contract renewal, your next letter of recommendation, it can easily lead to reports of bullying and power abuse. This is something junior researchers report, and especially international scholars who might not know how to navigate such a rigid top-down system.
And this brings us back to Dorothy Getz, the historian who left for Sweden. She cited this as a major reason for leaving.
She did. She realized there weren't really any effective internal mechanisms to challenge a powerful professor or to address that kind of power abuse. The system itself almost enables it.
So when you combine the two, the ticking clock of the Westsite VG and this rigid top-down hierarchy,
the pressure on an early career researcher becomes almost unbearable. You are completely dependent on one person for your future, all while knowing that your time is legally mandated to run out.
which leads us to the consequences.
Yeah.
Data on people wanting to leave is just grim.
It is. The 2024 DZHW Barometer for Science report is a real wake-up call. They surveyed over 11,000 academics. 57% had thought about leaving academia in the last 2 years.
More than half. And I'm guessing it's even worse for postdocs on those fixed-term contracts.
It spikes to 71%. Nearly 3/4 are looking for a way out. And the reasons they give are exactly what we've been talking about. The workload, the terrible work-life balance, and of course the Westsite VG.
It's like the system is demanding your absolute total dedication while also telling you, don't get too comfortable, we're going to kick you out.
That's a perfect way to put it. There is a quote from another historian, Astrid Wendell Hansen, that captures it. She moved to Germany, but recently left for Estonia.
For a 4-year contract.
A 4-year contract, which is a length of time the German system would almost never give a postdoc. And her take on it was just visceral. She said the German system seems to actively be trying to push you away.
So beyond the personal cost for these individuals, what does this mean for Germany as a whole, for its scientific output?
The risks are huge. Suzanne Joud-Zims from the DZHW lays them out. You lose continuity in your research projects, you have massive burnout, and the big one, brain drain.
You're training the best and brightest and then sending them off to your competitors.
Exactly. You risk losing all that talent to countries with more predictable career paths, even if those paths are still difficult.
To be fair, though, this kind of precarious work isn't only a German problem, right?
That's a vital point. The 2024 OECD report notes that instability is a global trend. Australia has a lot of casual hires. The U.S. is relying more and more on non-tenure track faculty.
So what makes Germany's situation so unique?
It's the legal reinforcement of that instability, the Westsite VG. It's a self-inflicted wound. A law that was meant to help has ended up codifying the problem.
This all sounds so deeply embedded. Legally, culturally, how could it possibly change? And yet the article says there's actually a lot of momentum for reform right now.
There is, thankfully. The German Council of Science and Humanities, the Wissenschaftsrat, just released a whole set of proposals for major reforms. The pressure is building from all sides.
And what are they proposing? What are the key fixes?
They're going right for the root causes.
Hmm.
First, make permanent positions the norm, not the exception. That means a huge shift in university budgeting and thinking.
And the second thing?
Dismantle the lateral system. Replace it with modern departmental structures that share leadership and make decisions more transparent.
That is a massive cultural change, taking power away from that all-powerful professor model.
It is, but they see it as essential to make German science attractive again. Because right now, as the chair of the council said, it's losing too many talented people, especially in fields like computer science and medicine.
And we're already seeing some universities not waiting for a federal mandate. They're trying things on their own.
That's the hopeful part. The University of Hamburg is creating more permanent jobs that aren't traditional professorships. And the most radical example is at Humboldt University in Berlin.
What do they do?
The Institute of Philosophy just did it. They scrapped their chair-based system last year and switched to a departmental model, and it immediately allowed them to create more stable, mid-level, permanent jobs and tenure-track positions. It shows it can be done.
So there is some positive movement. The number of tenure-track professorships has doubled since 2018, but it's still, what, just over 1,300 in the whole country?
It's a start, but it feels like a drop in the ocean. And this gets to the major hurdles. An ecologist, Yves Klinger, points out that implementation is incredibly complicated. You need the federal government, state governments, and all the institutions to work together. It's not one switch you can flip.
And then there's the biggest hurdle of all, money.
Always money. Funding for universities went up a lot over the last couple of decades, which fueled this research boom.
From about 19 billion to 35 billion euros.
Right. But now a lot of institutions are facing budget cuts. So at the exact moment you need to create thousands of new, expensive, permanent jobs, the money might not be there.
So the fundamental tension remains. It's a great place for doing research, but a terrible place to be a researcher.
A difficult place to build a career, definitely. But there is this thread of optimism. It comes from the researchers themselves.
What's the thinking there?
It comes back to Amre Bar, the philosopher.
Yeah.
She believes change is inevitable because, as she puts it, people will not be willing to work under these bad conditions anymore, and without people, there is no science.
A labor market argument. At some point, the system will run out of talented people willing to put up with it.
Exactly.
So if we pull back for a final thought here, if these structural issues, the law and the hierarchy, mean that a career in German academia is only really viable for a privileged few who can weather the storm, what's the ultimate cost? Not just to the researchers, but to science itself.
Well, that's the big question, isn't it? When your system filters for a very specific type of person, one who can endure extreme precarity and navigate these intense power dynamics, you are inherently limiting the diversity of perspectives you bring to the table. You limit the kinds of questions that get asked, the kinds of problems that get solved.
A system that stifles careers ultimately stifles innovation. That is a powerful thought to end on, and a situation we will definitely be keeping an eye on.
Thanking the listeners to this episode.